Everyone says Airbnb is dead, and they are probably half right. And while all of this is happening with AI, I still work with clients as growth partners to build their brand on Google. Now, most operators face a big challenge day to day, and that's filling their calendar. And since 2018, I've seen the industry change so much, both for good and bad. See, later in this video, you'll rate out 5 questions to see if this is gonna work for you or if you're not ready. And this hopefully will blow your mind. So let's get into Claude now, and I'm going to ask Claude, what are the risks for starting Airbnb business in 2026? And I'm gonna say, be blunt and absolutely no fluff. So let's go in. So I'm gonna ask, what are the real risks of starting an Airbnb business in 2026? And I'd say, be blunt and no fluff. So let's do the search and let's see what it gives us. So again, I think the big thing I can see here is the regularity changes, which is always going to be the case. Look, planning permission is now the real threat. It's always been one of the easiest way to start Airbnb business in the UK, right? Secondly, registration of each properties. Look, it's going to be mandatory. So that's another big challenge. 90 days rule in London has always been a big challenge for most operators. Obviously, people have different ways around it for direct booking, mid-term rental. All of these things. Look, number 4, depending on where you're doing. Number 5, everything that you're like earning and all that kind of stuff. Number 6, mortgage, your lease, you know, depending, like, obviously not every mortgage is around. One of the biggest thing I, learned in 2018 when I had my estate agency business was this. We were selling mortgages, and some of our clients were doing short-term rental on a rent-to-rent basis without checking mortgages. Now, there's mortgages that will not allow you to do short-term rental regardless of you asking landlords if they have asked for short-term rental users, right? This makes a huge difference. Safety compliance. So you can see these are like massive challenges, let alone getting bookings, setting up, all the other things anyway. And the bottom line is, it says the easy money era for UK Airbnb is over, right? Which personally for me, I probably 80% agree, and still better than places like Dubai where I am. In Dubai, you have to register a whole company, you have to get a license for short-term rental. It gets very expensive. Like, you can't do an entry-level start here, right? Between the tax changes here, you can see safety obligation, local enforcement. Yeah, you're basically running a hospitality business. You're no longer doing that Instagram, make £1,000 profit every month. It's not gonna happen anymore, but as long as you're serious and you wanna start it in the right way, there's gonna be a lot of information. So now we're gonna go through and ask 5 questions that will self-qualify you to make sure you're doing the right investment. Now look, who's right? The doomers or the operators that are making it work? So by the end of this video, you will know exactly which side of the line that you're probably or actually are on. Now, quick context, if this is your first video, I'm Piers from Grow Your BNB and AutomateYourBNB.com. I've been doing this since 2018, globally in UK, US, Europe, Middle East, even Australia. Now look, I'm not here to sell you anything. And to be honest with you, as frustrated as it seems, like we only get like 100 views per video after all the genuine effort we put in. And I've been doing this for the last 6 years. And look, that's a whole different story. And I'm not here to scare you off. I genuinely believe the truth of Airbnb business needs to come. And the truth is, in 2026, Airbnb is harder than it was in 2018. But the people winning are winning bigger. And why do they do that? Because bad operators have been weeding out. The market really rewards quality now. So the question isn't, is Airbnb dead? The question is, are you built for what it takes in 2026? Let me show you that 5 questions that decide it. Let's do it with Claude. So I'm thinking of starting an Airbnb business in 2026. Give me the 5 most important questions I should ask myself before I commit a penny. So for each one, please explain why it matters. So I'm gonna do this as a search, and it's now gonna give me those 5 questions that you will be able to self-qualify yourself. So number 1, do I actually have the legal right to short-let this property? Number 2, will the number actually work? Net of all cost, vacancy and taxes. Number 3, is there genuine year-round demand in this specific location, or is it just peak few weeks? Number 4, am I genuinely prepared for operational reality, or am I imagining what they call the passive income? What a great question, by the way. Number 5, what is my exit strategy if it doesn't work? And what's the opportunity of cost of not doing something else? Okay, so number 1, do you actually have the legal right to shortlet this property? Now, look, it doesn't matter whether you're doing like buying or renting or even co-hosting, you need to understand there is capital required, right? You need furnitures, photos, legals, and that all generally costs you money. It could be up to 10K. Now, if you've got less, don't worry, don't quit. Just start as a potential co-host and you can earn while you learn, but also then come back for a real investment. Now, this number 1 question, do I actually have a legal right to shortlet this property? It could be any property you're thinking of, but also you've got to think of what investment are you going to make. So my first question alongside this would be what potential strategy that you're going to use, but also do you have the funds up to 10 grand depending on the strategy that you're going to use. Usually the entry level ones are either being a co-host or doing a rent-to-rent business. So number 2 question, will the number actually work? Net of all costs, vacancy and tax. Basically means a lot of time I've seen this, right? And this is really great because a lot of time when market due diligence is done on your occupancy rate or the nightly rate that you're potentially going to earn. Now, you can see here what it's saying, right? It basically says the nightly rate and forget the icebergs of cost, because most of the time when people see like Airbnb business, they're like, I can get £300, like £150 a night, £300 a night. But then they also forget that to achieve a £300 a night unit, you probably will need a very expensive luxury unit that you're gonna pay a lot of rent on. So, you know, you need a model, a platform fee like Airbnb takes. Well, it says at the moment 3%, which is wrong because it takes up to 18%, because if you're on a 3% model, you're gonna give, you know, the guest is gonna pay 14%, which effectively the pricing is, by the way, exactly the same. I genuinely don't understand why this actually happens and why people think it's a different strategy, but it's not. Obviously cleaning costs per turnover, which is gonna be quite big. So you need to understand that numbers. So you can see here like insurance, property management, if you're not local, like there's so many things that you've got to look at. And also in reality here, there is a lot of other information that people forget. I said about accounting fees. Incredibly, as we know, accountants charge up to £1,000 per, filing of certain things. And, all of a sudden, if you're achieving 8 grand on net profit, you've taken £1,000 for accounting fee. A lot of time, most even new starters don't even think. Now, going into number 3, right? The third question you want to ask is there a genuine year-round demand in that specific location? Or have you spoken to somebody down the road who's had an incredible 3 months, but they've never done a whole 12-month season, or also they haven't done a whole 24-month season? Because sometimes a 12-month is great to get some data, but if you generally sit down and ask them for, their like net profit, understand a little bit around like what do they pay for everything, the bottom line sometimes can be very less. Now, I see this with a lot of clients. I work with clients. I genuinely get messages every single day from clients who have got 1 or 2 units, and their biggest challenge is like, Piers, we're not being profitable. We are getting bookings, we're filling properties, but we're not being profitable. And that goes back to, you can have the best 3 months. You can get, Airbnb can be very lucky for you, and next minute there's more active listing, there's more units coming, there's people don't have a strategy around checking pricing across different season. People don't know how to use tools like AirDNA or Price Labs. Now again, Price Labs have some incredible data, but sometimes it's not going to be 100% right? So the third question you genuinely want to ask before you go and invest your £10,000 is to say, am I do I understand this specific location? Because it's not like 2018 where people used to go, get a unit, drop it on Airbnb and booking.com and you're gonna get booking. It's not gonna happen. So it's worth really digging into the data first. And we move into number 4, which is, am I genuinely prepared for the operational reality? Now, something that I do say is this is a hospitality business. Now, an Airbnb business or a short-term rental business comes in 3 different ways. One, it's a property investing strategy. So basically you are choosing a strategy to do it. Secondly, it's a hospitality business, which is what, if you're not passionate about serving guests, if you don't care about replying to a complaint at 11 o'clock in the night, this business isn't for you, right? And the third is, this is a marketer's business, someone who actually understands how to market properties. Because if you leave your property on Airbnb and booking.com, like thousands of other operators, the likely chances are you're just gonna wait for bookings to come and see. Somebody who understands marketing or understand how to get more bookings are generally the people that wins in this business. So going back to number 4, you can see here, right? Short-term letting is a hospitality business. It's not a passive investment. Guest messages at 11 about a broken boiler, someone about to leave a bad review because maybe something that you didn't do properly. A pipe burst between bookings, you need to honestly assess this. Do I have a reliable, affordable cleaners who can turn around the properties in a couple of hours running a hospitality business? If you speak to most people who have failed on Airbnb, they will genuinely tell you the cleaners haven't done a great job, and as a result of that, they had loads of bad reviews and eventually they had to shut their business down, right? Same thing if you're hiring, people get a rent-to-rent unit, they've got an owned property, they do it a short-term rental, and then they hire a management company without doing their due diligence. The management company is only going to put you on Airbnb and booking.com if, again, you haven't done your right due diligence and if they don't understand the hospitality business. So there's a lot of information that is out there, but you've got to think, am I prepared to scale this business as a hospitality business? And if that is again a yes, you're ready to start. And lastly, moving into the 5th question, what is my exit strategy if it doesn't work? Now, this is one of the best thing AI Claude is asking people right now before they even start, because people go into mentorship, people spend £3,000, people go into these courses, online programs, they end up being in a community, but what they forget is once they invest, they see other people winning, right? They go and invest a unit on a 1-bed studio, 1-bed studio apartment, whatever that is, and forget that. If that doesn't work, what would their exit strategy be? Now, in most mentorship, nobody talks about exit strategy. So the fact that this actual Claude is asking you this is even making you think, what if it doesn't work? What are the chances, right? So here, most people ask what's the upside before asking what's the downside and how do I get out? Before committing, define what would cause me to stop, right? It's certainly an occupancy threshold. So basically means if you don't achieve certain figures, you're gonna end up losing money. So you've got to stop. Secondly, change of regulation, seen that a lot. Maybe a bad season, so you can have a great start of a year, especially now if you're watching this video, going from April all the way till September, October in the UK, depending on where your properties are, 80% of them, they're gonna do amazing, right? And then the winter season hits. November, December, Jan is where people do not make any money and they start losing a lot of money as well as ending up losing their business. Yeah, so it's just giving you such a great information. Where am I giving up and not letting it, guaranteed rent, lower hassle, no voids if you do a normal tenancy, in the market where mortgage rate remains elevated, long-term rentals in UK, amazing information. It's given you such a great 5-pointer that you've got to go, what if this happens? What am I going to do? What if this happens? So the 5th question is, what is my exit strategy? And if it doesn't work, what you're going to do. And as long as you understand this and you've got 3 points ready to go, by this, I'm going to do this. If it doesn't work, then you are ready to start. Here's how to score. Now tick yes or no on each of those 5 questions. Yes equals to 1, no equals to 0. Now, if you've scored, let's say 5 out of 5, you are literally ready to start this month. If you've scored maybe 4, you are probably 90% there. You just need to fix some gap and then go. If you've scored 3, slow down, spend 90 days fixing the weak areas first, and maybe try to start maybe even as a co-host first. Now, if you scored 2 or below, Airbnb isn't your move right now. Save your £10,000, maybe come back in a year. And here's the kicker. Claude can run this, literally the scorecard for you, and personalize it in less than probably 60 seconds. Okay, so I'm gonna say something like, let's say I've got £10,000 to deploy. I live in Manchester, I work full time, so I have 7 hours a week. I'm patient with people, but new to this. I want you to start an Airbnb score me out of 5 in readiness question and let me know what to do next, right? So basically, just earlier we asked a couple of questions. I can literally, again, personalize this to your requirement, depending on your scenario. And I can, hopefully Claude will give me some really incredible answers. Now, these are the things, again, with mentorship, you don't, because all you see is someone else's property making £3,000 a month or whatever that is as a win, but nobody talks about their scenario, how much time investment they're putting in versus what you're doing as well. So as you can see from my screen, it's just loading up, it's building you a clear action plan. Okay, so it says currently 3.1 out of 5, it says, and it actually is giving me starting budget 3 out of 5, great. Rental arbitrage feasibility, you likely don't own a property, so you need to sublet at Manchester, so it says 2 out of 5. Time and operation, weekly 7 hours available, is borderline, a busy property needs 5 to 10 hours alone. You'll need to automate heavily, so it says you're 2 out of 5. People skill, patient with people, this is generally an asset, so 5 out of 5. And then market location, Manchester, it's giving you 4 out of 5. Like, look at this data. Like, nobody will sit down and give you this information for free, or at least in my case, I'm paying something like £20 on Pro. This is what you will not have in a community and a mentorship. Now try this on your own, on your numbers tonight. Now the exact prompt is either in this free video, you can copy and paste it, or I'll put that in the description as well. Now here's the truth I want you to leave with. Airbnb in 2026 isn't dead, it's just stricter. The market rewards real operators, not gurus, not flippers, and definitely it's not a get rich quick crowd. Now, if you've scored 4 or 5 on those questions, you are already ahead of 80% of people who are looking to enter the space. If you've scored 3 or below, that's also a win. We've just saved you, hopefully, tens and thousands of pounds in money and pain. Now, either way, you are more honest with yourself than most, and the whole reason this channel exists. So 3 things to do right now. Number 1, subscribe so you catch up on episode 3. We are breaking down like 4 Airbnb's business model and the one that would probably quietly bury you. Number 2, link in the description for my free school community. I'm gonna put a lot of personalized prompt there waiting for you to use. And number 3, if you are serious, get Claude Pro for £20 or more. I don't know what that is right now, but that's the difference between reading about this stuff or doing it with a mentor in your actual pocket. See you in episode number 3.